Hi guys, welcome back to my rare fruit farm. If you've been collecting fruit trees for a while and then you start ordering from smaller sources, namely from the guys in North Queensland, this is mainly for Australian viewers, you're going to end up getting plants that come in pots with lots of scoria and inert other materials like gravel and perlite and stuff like that. So if you were to try to get this plant out of this pot by turning it upside down, you're just going to end up with a pile of rocks and a plant with some bare roots, which is fine with some plants, but I found some of the jaboticabas and mercerias and eugenias struggle if you mess around with the roots too much. So this is what I do. It's pretty common sense, but if you've never come across this before, then you don't know. I make my own potting mix. It's 2 parts peat moss with a high pH, 1 part peat moss that's been pH balanced, 1 part coconut coir, 2 parts perlite, 2 parts sand, 1 part charcoal, and 1 part pumice. So I just put a little bit in the bottom of the pot here, chuck this in. So I'm trying to get it set up so that when I put this little pot in there, it's going to be at the right height. I like to keep them down a little bit from the top, because when you water this, the perlite comes to the top. So this one that I've just done is down a little bit here. So I'll add a little bit of slow release fertilizer, water it in, and then I cover it with pine bark. And then when you water the pine bark, it doesn't disturb all the perlite, so it doesn't all come floating to the top. You can see this one here. You can see I've got the pine bark in there, and I find the pine bark, because it's so big, it doesn't really matter if it's sort of up against the trunk of the plants. It's not sort of matted and wet, so it's not going to cause them to rot. Well, I haven't had any rot. So anyway, once we get this to the right height here, that's about the height I want. I'll set that down. I use a pair of these with like shears. So what I do is I go in the little holes at the bottom of the pot and just cut all the way around, sliding it in so it's sort of following the pot. So I'm not really going to cut any, very rarely do any roots get between where I'm cutting there, but you can see there the rocks are going to fall out. So I cut all the way around the bottom. You'll be able to hear rocks falling out. This stuff is loose. Sometimes I need to keep it on there. I can actually just, even though it's been cut off, I just hold it there. Run this shears up the side of the pot. So now the pot's cut on the side. I get my pot, and I can just sit this inside and quickly pull out the bottom of the pot. So now that's sitting inside there without the bottom of the pot. Usually I'm not tipping it up as much as this, so it sort of stays together a bit more. Now that's cut, I can throw a little bit of my potting mix around there just before I do anything too drastic. I don't even fill it all the way to the top, and then I can just grab that, give it a little jiggle. Sometimes if it's stuck, I can use the little plant tag, just chomp it down around the side of the pot, and then that'll lift right out. So I've got rid of the pot there, and this is the roots in that are relatively undisturbed. I've been doing this for a while now, and I don't really have a lot of trouble with plants suffering after they've been repotted. It seems like it's a bit of a stuff around, but when you pay $50 to $150 for a plant, like really, it's not much time, just to make sure that the plant survives. Yeah, so then I'll put a bit of slow release fertiliser, water it in, put the pine bark on top, and that's all done. So yeah, if you're buying plants from North Queensland in rocks, that's the best way I find to pot them. Alright guys, catch you on the next one.